Hello and a good day to you, and thank you for clicking in and learning more about the JMU Athletics program. I'm Kurt Dudley, Director of Broadcast Services for the Dukes, and I know when I have a really successful day, it's one in which I have a lot of energy to sustain me throughout the day. And as we talk about the support behind JMU success, JMU student athlete success, we speak often of the Integrated Health and Sports Performance Program. Now, I'll tie all this together because there are 7 components to that program, but one that I think of that comes into play every day, at least 3 times a day, and maybe even more, is the nutrition program. And I'm delighted to have with us today JMU sport dietitian Lauren Hartman, who has been with the Dukes for a few years now. And Lauren, as a course of introduction, give us a little bit of your history, your background, and your history with the Dukes.
Hey Kurt, thanks for having me today. I'm really excited to talk a little bit about our program and how we support the Dukes. I've been with JMU for 2 years now. Before I got to JMU, I worked at University of Texas with their sports nutrition program for 3 years. Worked with a really great variety of sports and got to see how we can accomplish sports nutrition at a really high level, and was able to be fortunate enough to accept this position to try to do the same at a smaller scale. So really, my love for sports nutrition came from being an athlete myself. I played volleyball at University of Pittsburgh. I got my undergraduate in exercise science and then got my master's in nutrition. A really, really important thing to know about a dietitian is that's the word you need to look for when you're working with someone on your nutrition. So a nutritionist could be anyone who just woke up one day and said, I think I want to help people with their nutrition, and off they go. A dietitian really has to do a lot of really structured experiences and coursework and internships, and has to pass an exam to get that credential. And when you tack sports onto it, so a sports dietitian is a dietitian who's had all that training and then also has lots of great experience working with athletes specifically to help them fuel and be successful in their sport.
My goodness, I've learned that I can be a nutritionist then. I just woke up this morning and I can be a nutritionist. I try to be one for myself, but people like you are those that I lean on every once in a while to kind of learn about it, particularly as, well, I get up in my career, so to speak. Let's take a little bit of an overview of what, we've got over 450 student athletes here at James Madison University. And Lauren, if you would, just kind of give us an overview picture of what the program is all about.
Sure. So if we want to dial it back to kind of the history of JMU sports nutrition, JMU really decided to invest in a full-time sports dietitian, I believe 7 years ago. We made it part of our strategic goal to make that part of our nutrition services and our sports medicine services. So I'm the 3rd dietitian to actually work in this role full-time. And really, we're meant to be that resource, that expert in not only just regular sports nutrition. Yes, I want my athletes to have a fantastic career and fuel in a way that helps directly with practice and competition. But it's really, really important to have a dietitian in the medical setting because we have so many other skills besides just that fueling before and after training. We work with athletes that have hypertension and type 1 diabetes and celiac disease and allergies. So we have this cool, glamorous sports side to our job, but we also are a really integral part of that clinical setting and making sure we take care of kids who maybe have specific nutrition allergies and needs like that. So we kind of have this dual role of educating kids on what to eat to maximize performance, and then also supporting right down to, is your iron low? Do you need a vitamin D supplement? So that's kind of been the initial role, is that really one-on-one nutrition care. What's been really exciting in my 2 years here is to see how we can grow our program into almost what's more of a modern version of sports nutrition, which is having fueling stations where athletes can swing by and grab some sort of supplemental nutrition. We've grown our staff a little bit, so I was a one-woman show for my first year, and we've added 2 dietitians since then, which really helps us get a little bit more individualized with our athletes and just support them a little bit more often than maybe seeing them once a semester. So really, we kind of span the breadth from teaching our athletes what to eat, when to eat, how to eat, to actually being able to show them in the moment when we're at fuel stations or when we run out to practice and just check on them. So there's a really wide range of things we can do, and that's what makes the job so exciting.
Let's take a couple of quick case studies or examples. So, you've got a 250-pound linebacker that plays for the football Dukes, and then you've got a swimmer or maybe a field hockey player. Their nutritional needs are not the same. They've got to be different. And each individual is actually, as we learn more and more because of all kinds of reasons, everybody has kind of their own thing with their own nutrition. how much time do you spend one-on-one? How do you customize this with so many student athletes? You did mention that you do now have a staff of 3, though.
Sure. So the individualized part can be a little tricky because I am really excited about nutrition, really fired up about helping people, but there needs to be that same kind of energy coming from that individual if we're going to make any progress. So a lot of the one-on-one work comes from kind of assessing where that individual is in terms of their nutrition journey. If nutrition isn't even on the map, I don't really do a whole ton of individualization because my work with them is going to look a lot more like just teaching them the benefits of changing their nutrition before we actually make some changes. A lot of what that looks like will be athletes seeking me out for help. And again, the great part of having a sports dietitian is we're able to take our nutrition background and our nutrition expertise and apply it using our sport specific knowledge. So we have a great skill set in terms of, yes, our 250-pound lineman is going to have wildly different needs than even a wide receiver or a quarterback on that same team. So within teams, there's a huge range, and between teams, like you said. So really our role is to understand those sports. That's why you see us out at practice, kind of getting a feel for what training looks like, what's a hard day versus what's an easy day, what is their unique position within that team look like. So our offensive lineman isn't doing a ton of running. He's not covering a lot of ground. So his energy expenditure in practice is going to be wildly different than a wide receiver or cornerback. So it's really important that we understand the sport first so we can translate and kind of speak their language and know, okay, here's how this nutrition choice is going to make you get more passing yards in the game and kind of translating it to them like that.
It really gets down to the detail, and it's interesting how flexible and how versatile you have to be in your field. Now, one of the things about James Madison University, I take advantage of this, students take advantage of this, faculty and staff is the food on campus. I mean, it is wonderful. Airmark does a beautiful job. Plus, we have a number of chains that also have establishments on campus as well. So, Lauren, with this, we're not saying don't eat the great food. We're just saying eat the great food and be smart about it.
Absolutely. This is one of my favorite parts of definitely meeting recruits and then meeting them as freshmen on campus. I'll have a lot of times if I meet a recruit in person with their family, it is this instinctual reaction people have when they meet a dietitian of immediate apologies for their nutrition choices. So their parents might say, oh, you're going to have your work cut out with this one. And it's really important that people know working with a dietitian is not this scary, horrible experience where we shame you for what you're eating and put you on this really strict diet. It's quite the opposite. So there are foods that support performance and health, and there are foods that really just make your taste buds happy, and there's a place for all of those foods in an athlete's diet. So there's kind of this concept that athletes are held to a higher standard, right? They have to have this perfect diet, and really it's just about consistent small efforts over time that add up. So yes, we have Chick-fil-A on campus. Yes, we have Steak and Shake. We have so many things that really support the taste bud side of things. And so it's just working them in strategically. So one of my favorite examples I always tell my athlete is I don't hate Chick-fil-A just because I'm a dietitian. I just don't think it's your best move right before a hard practice. Let's work that in on an off day or several hours after practice so it's not interfering with recovery or giving you a huge bellyache right before you train. So it's not about, yes, eat this, no, don't eat that. It's about the intent behind that choice, the timing of it, and how it may or may not affect your training.
That sounds like a great food game plan to me, because you do what food is enjoyable, and if you can you can spend some time with just enjoying it from a leisure and pleasure standpoint, but also knowing that it's going to fuel you, because again, you got to make your way through the day. You've got classes, you've got practice, you've got competition, and you've got socialization. I mean, all that stuff takes a lot of energy. And although it is quite different in our current times as we're dealing with that. Now, we did mention you have a 3-person staff. I do want to give you an opportunity to give us their names and quickly what their roles are with the program right now.
Sure. So one of my favorite parts about working for JMU is we have an administration who really understands and values the role of a sports dietitian, and that's really translated into growing our staff. So our first addition after I was here for a year is Sarah Stanford. She's our grad assistant. So she is currently taking on 2 pretty insane roles. She's working as a sports dietitian and also getting her master's degree from JMU while she does it. So she's been with me for about a year and a half now, and she's finishing up her master's these next 2 semesters. And then Jeremy Ford is our Gatorade Sports Nutrition Immersion Program Fellow, which is a long fancy term for a fellowship that Gatorade funds to help other programs get another staff member without maybe the school investing necessarily in that person. So he's here making a huge impact with basketball, and he'll be with us for about 8 months. And really the goal of that immersion program is to just kind of highlight how much more we can do when we have more dietitians. So what I'm able to do as one person with 400 something athletes looks a lot different than when we can divide and conquer those athletes between 3 or so people. So really it's our effort to continue to build on the great foundations this program already had, and continue to just make sure that we have an equal level of care across all sports. And it's not just football who has really individualized every day, day in and day out attention from a dietitian. We really want to achieve having a similar impact across all of our sports.
Well, Lauren, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for giving us a little insight to the sports nutrition program at James Madison University. Again, it is one of the pillars of the Integrated Health and Sports Performance Program. And hey, eat well today, okay?
Thanks, Kurt. It's great to be here.
I appreciate it. Lauren Hartman, the sport dietitian for the Dukes of James Madison University. For the JMU Dukes, I'm Kurt Dudley. Have a great purple and gold day.